Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's segment on mentorship. Why not? Bonjour tout le monde et bienvenue à la séance Le mentorat, pourquoi pas? This is a bilingual session, so I am Alex and I will be the moderator for our session during this hour. I will be switching back and forth between English and French, so don't be alarmed if I'm going back and forth in that way. But if there is at any time a need for me to translate what I've said at the same time, please do let us know by using the chat, and we'll get into that right now, basically. So first and foremost, I would begin by acknowledging that I'm here in Gatineau on the traditional unceded territory of the Algonquin and Anishinaabe people. The Algonquin peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial, and I encourage all of you to acknowledge the land where you're on as well. Au fur et à mesure que nous progressons dans la session d'aujourd'hui, veuillez partager vos questions en utilisant le bouton questions et réponses. Et je pense que ça, c'est en bas de votre écran, dans la langue de votre choix. Vous pouvez voter sur les questions que vous voulez poser en cliquant sur le bouton thumbs up ou la pouce vert. Today, we have three panelists who are joining us, and I'd like to welcome them right now. So we have Justine Reynolds, Antona Christus Ranjan, and Martin Choquette. Justine is currently a departmental liaison with Infrastructure Canada. Antona is currently a policy analyst with Natural Resources Canada. And Martin is a team lead and social media strategist with Finance Canada. Donc, bienvenue à vous trois et merci d'avoir participé à notre séance aujourd'hui. Je suis confiant que vos conseils et pensées seront tellement utiles pour tous nos participants afin d'avoir une meilleure compréhension du mentorat et de ses avantages. So I just gave a very brief introduction to each of our panelists, and that was just me going into their LinkedIn profiles, which I believe we have access to at the end of our sessions here. But I'll turn the floor to each one of them just to give us more details as to their career trajectories and where they currently are, as well as to give us a little spiel about mentoring as well. So in no particular order, I'm going to pick on one of our people here, and let's start with Martin, just to give us a little bit about himself, again, in English and French, or in both official languages. It's entirely up to you. But Martin, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Alex. So hi, everyone. My name is Martin. As Alex mentioned, I'm the team lead of the social media team here at Finance Canada. Team lead, social media strategist, basically anything you see published from the accounts, I'm responsible for ensuring that it kind of meets our goals and objectives, while respecting the various criteria. There's going to be a lot of, thought fuzz for me today. We're finishing budget 2022. So it's still ongoing. So I'm still, struggling to find my words and my thoughts at some points, but bear with me. So in terms of career progression, for those of you who have, joined Fin sessions before, you've kind of heard me talk about my career progression, but I started in government almost 6 years ago now, if not 7, as a student. I was the project support coordinator for Vanguard, which is Public Services and Procurement Canada's young professionals network. And then, did a variety of odd jobs throughout the department. At one point, I was a project administrator in procurement. I've done change management in procurement as well at PSPC. Did some time in communications and real property. So that's PSPC. And then I kind of jumped into the comms world over at SSC, Shared Services. And did about a year there and then found my way to Finance Canada, where I am now, have been for just over a year. So been, heavily involved with networks throughout my entire career. I credit, where I am today in terms as a GC public servant to the power of those networks and the opportunities that they've presented to me. So that's kind of just a, Cole's Notes version. I've worked with Justine quite a bit in the past, as well as various people from Fin. So happy to be here today and looking forward to this session.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing that with us, Martin. Is it Martin or Martin? I'm always trying to figure out what's the better way to pronounce it there.
It's totally fine either way. I am French, but I have no hangups as to whether you say Martin with the French tint or if you just say Martin. Whatever is easiest for you, I'm totally okay with.
Awesome. All right. Let's go over to Justine then, just because Martin, in your bio there, you mentioned that you worked with Justine in the past.
Hi, everyone. I'm Justine Reynolds. Very nice to be with you all today. Super excited. Mentoring is definitely a passion of mine. So excited to talk to you all about it today and start a really cool conversation. I currently work at Infrastructure Canada as the departmental liaison. I've been in this role for 6 months now, but still feel new. It's a very challenging role and a lot to learn yet in this position. So I'm thankful to have this opportunity. It's a really cool, unique opportunity. There's only one person who does this role in each department, typically. Sometimes there's a team, but basically I'm the point person between the minister's office and the department. So if the minister's office, anyone in the minister's office, including the minister, has a question, they're typically supposed to field it through myself. Of course, the minister would typically go through his own channels, but the minister's staff comes through me, which is super exciting because I get bird's eye view on the political world and what's going on regarding infrastructure on that side of things. So really cool, unique opportunity. I get to listen in on ministerial conversations, which is also something that I've never been privy to before. So it's very new for me. I currently have a mentor actually in this role because it is so new for me. I haven't worked in a minister's office before, so huge learning curve, like I said. So it's very top of mind right now for mentorship in my world. I came from DFO. I was actually at DFO for the most part of my career. Almost 10 years I spent at DFO, and that started out as a co-op experience. So I started as a co-op student, similar to Martin, similar to many of us in the public service, doing co-op in a variety of places, and then building a small network from that and landing my first permanent job at DFO in 2014, so a long time ago now. I had a variety of different positions at DFO, worked in external relations, strategic policy, international relations as well, and served a short time in communications. All throughout my government career, ever since day one, I've been involved in YPN, so Young Professional Networks, working with Finn, underneath Finn. So ever since day one, been involved and have seen how much mentorship is sought out by young professionals. No matter where you go in whichever department, I've always seen that young professionals are searching for mentorship opportunities. When we've asked our members what they're looking for, they often always say as number one, mentorship opportunities. So I've seen throughout my career so far that mentorship is really important, and that's why we're here today. So that's me in a nutshell. Thanks.
All right, thanks, Justine. And last but not least, I'll turn it over to you, Antona.
Hi, thank you for having me today. So I'm a bit on the newer side to the government. I've been working for the federal government for 3 years now, and I'm at Natural Resources Canada. Prior to that, I did my master's in public policy, and I actually did my internship at NRCan at that time. So that's why I was able to get another job through that, through my connections and network as well. And I also am part of the development program at NRCan called the Policy Analyst Recruitment and Development Program. And I also volunteer at the Visible Minority Advisory Council at NRCan as well. And like the others mentioned, mentorship has also been an important part of my school and career, and I was able to make those connections outside and within the government as well. So it has been a really good way to build my network in the past 5-6 years. And yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. So we have 3 panelists with 3 different career paths and I believe 3 different departments. But one thing that links all of us together here is the fact that we will be talking about mentoring. And I think for all of you, you've mentioned the importance of mentoring as well, be it in your own career trajectories or just viewing it as well in being involved either with the Federal Youth Network right here or with what you may have seen within and outside of the government. So I think before moving forward, I should probably say a little bit more about myself as well, because I also work in the government. So I'm not just here as a placeholder, but I'm just taking on the role of a moderator. So I'll be asking the questions and hearing more from the 3 of you. So my name is Alex, and I'm a program engineer with Environment and Climate Change Canada. I've been working in the government for a little over 6 years now. That's hard to imagine. It's actually been that long. Most of my time has been spent with Environment Canada, but I did do a little stint at the Department of National Defense as well. My current role is working in the Carbon Markets Bureau, and I am one of the people who is in charge of developing all of our systems and our tools that we put in place just to make sure that we're collecting the information that's required under the output-based pricing system. So we have many different stakeholders all across the country. We're making sure that they are not going above certain emissions and certain practices when it comes to emitting those pollutants into the environment, but we're making sure that those are on track. And I will say it's a very high priority job, very demanding, but a wonderful experience. So I've been in this role ever since August of last year. So I think that's been a little over 6 months now. So with all of that being said, let's go into the main part of this, which is the questions and answers, or Q&A period. Donc, nous allons passer maintenant aux questions du public et même aux questions qui sont déjà posées ici. Donc, juste un rappel pour tous nos participants, vous pouvez utiliser la fonction questions et réponses pour demander les questions. Et si vous aimez une question qui était déjà posée dans le chat, utilisez la fonction thumbs up ou le pouce vert, je pense, comme on dit en français là, pour démontrer le fait que cette question est très intéressante à poser à nos panélistes. So what I will do is I will start by asking a question, and I'll ask it in both English and French. I'll pose it to one of our 3 panelists here, and then after a response is given, the others can jump in as needed to fill in any more additional details or to provide their perspectives as well. Feel free to answer in the official language of your choice, and I will do my best to summarize your responses in the other official language just to make sure that we're capturing everything. So as we're talking about mentorship, the very first question that I would ask is, who should have a mentor? Donc, la première question posée à vous 3, c'est qui devrait avoir un mentor? Le mentorat, c'est ça comme on dit en français, là, mais maybe somebody else here can help me with the translation of mentor because I'm losing my words here. In any case, who should have a mentor? I'll start with Justine.
Sure, thanks, Alex. So who should have a mentor? Anyone who's ready to learn and has a clear goal in mind. I would say that it's important to have a clear goal as to what you're looking for. It's more than just a friend. You know, we all want friends, but we can find that other ways. Having a mentor is someone who you're looking forward to learn something from. So I would say main thing for me, from my perspective, is to have a clear goal in mind as to what you're looking for. So that could be trying to compete in a government process. You know, you have a goal in mind for this position you're trying to obtain, AS5 position, and you know that that person has been successful in that position. You feel like you could learn from their experiences and their knowledge. So seeking them out to sort of guide you through and answer any questions, share their feedback. So particular goal doesn't have to be a process, but something in mind that you have, that would mean you're ready to seek out a mentor.
All right, so juste un petit résumé en français. Qui devrait avoir un mentor? C'est quelqu'un qui a un but ou un objectif. Donc, par exemple, si vous avez envie de réussir dans un bassin ou si vous avez envie d'obtenir un certain niveau, une classification, on pourrait bien chercher quelqu'un qui a des conseils pour vous aider d'atteindre ces buts, cet objectif-là. Donc, en fin de la journée, ça, c'est une personne qui devrait avoir un mentor, quelqu'un qui a un but, un objectif. Martin or Antona, is there anything else that you'd like to add to that response?
Yeah, it's also good for if you have, like Justine said, something you want to grow from, or I also found it helpful to make further connections and like meeting people through your mentor. That has helped me a lot. So it's a good way to build your network, especially early on in your career, but it doesn't stop at that early stage. It's something that continues throughout your career.
All right, donc c'est vraiment juste pour bâtir et agrandir un réseau, pour créer plus de connexions, de liaisons avec d'autres personnes, d'autres employés. Martin, is there anything else you'd like to add?
I think I'm good for now. I'm just looking at like the rest of the questions, and I think anything that I want to bring to kind of Justine and Antona's answers, I can address them as part of the other questions. So I'll leave it there for now.
All right, sounds good. So let's go on to another question. So the first one was, who should have a mentor? The next question is, who can be a mentor? So, since Justine, I had you answer the first time that I wouldn't pick on you again now, but perhaps maybe Antona, who can be a mentor?
It depends on what you're looking for, but in terms of if you're looking for becoming a mentor in the government, probably someone with a few experience in the government, but I also had different mentors, like different stages of life. So when I was in school, I had a mentor who was also a student. So someone who had a similar experience that you're trying to gain, someone who could give you guidance to obtain what you're looking for.
All right. Donc, juste un résumé en français, avec ce que j'ai compris, ça pourrait être n'importe quelle personne. C'est vraiment dépendre sur la phase dans la vie où vous êtes et même la phase dans la vie où cette personne se situe aussi. Donc, dans le monde des étudiants, par exemple, un mentor pourrait être aussi un étudiant, mais quelqu'un peut-être avec un peu plus d'années d'expérience. Et ça pourrait être la même chose aussi dans le monde du travail. Donc, en fin de la journée, ça pourrait être n'importe quelle personne. Is there anything else that either Justine or Martin you'd like to add to who can be a mentor?
Yeah, I'll jump in. So Antona mentioned it doesn't really matter who it is. Like you could reach out to someone cold call. I would just extend that a bit, that it's helpful if you do have an existing relationship with that person. It's not a requirement, but helpful, and just to make both parties feel more comfortable. And it doesn't have to be best friends, a strong relationship, but just working with them or knowing who they are in the department or having worked with them at a previous department just helps get things started and make things a bit more comfortable. But by no means required. There's been people who've reached out blindly, said, hey, are you okay to have a coffee? Are you open to have a coffee? So both options work. But from my perspective, having some sort of connection or some sort of relationship with them is preferable. Also important to consider, and I learned this from a recent podcast that I listened to, which you'll hear about a little later, but it really resonated with me because I think some of these things are key. So someone having time, we all would like to have more time in the day. So that's really important if you're going to sign up for a mentoring relationship, to be able to dedicate that time, not canceling all the time. That just doesn't work very well. And it's not fair for either party to be able to cancel all the time. So making sure you have the time commitment. Set aside a couple hours a week for mentoring, whatever it may be. Having the time and being committed is really important and one of the essential factors.
OK. Donc, en résumé, il y a deux facteurs, je pense, que Justine a mentionné. La première, c'est meilleur d'avoir une relation existante avec la personne que vous aimeriez cibler comme mentor, parce que c'est plus facile de briser la glace en posant la question, d'avoir la première réunion, juste pour démontrer le fait qu'il y a une relation qui déjà existe. C'est juste plus facile de briser la glace. Mais la deuxième chose, c'est d'avoir le temps, parce que pour faire le mentorat, il faut passer un certain nombre d'heures, il faut passer une certaine période de temps pour bâtir et puis développer la relation avec la personne avec qui on va faire le mentorat. Donc, si ce temps n'est pas là, ça, c'est quelque chose qu'il faut vraiment prendre en considération parce qu'en fin de la journée, il faut passer un certain nombre d'heures, un certain temps avec la personne. Et puis, elle a fait référence à une annonce qu'on va attendre à la fin de notre séance. Je pense qu'il y aura une annonce avec un balado, donc restez à l'écoute pour ça. Martin, was there anything you wanted to add in?
Yeah, just kind of going back to the original, question about who can be a mentor. I mean, the simple answer is everyone. But I think more important than that, especially when we're out there kind of thinking, okay, maybe I want to find myself a mentor, or I want to become one, seek out different perspectives. Everyone has a different experience in government. I've been here for 7 years. You have as well, Alex. Justine's been here for a decade. Antona's been here for 3 years. But our experiences are so varied, even though we work, quote unquote, under the same umbrella. The government is small, but the government is also very large. There are very different things that you can do. There are different career paths. So regardless of kind of what your goal is in terms of, putting together this mentor relationship, seek out those different perspectives, because sometimes those are the key that you're missing for that thing that you want to accomplish, right? Some of the best mentorship, relationships that I've had with people have been with people that are completely outside of my field, that had nothing really to do with what I did in my day-to-day job, but they'd been in government so long and they've done, similar to me, so many different jobs, that they had those different perspectives. And taking the time to kind of sit with them and talk through those and kind of get their advice only makes me better as a person, but also as a public servant, kind of gathering those different perspectives, those different stories, to better understand, what's going on outside of my own bubble. But also that can help me figure out, how do I get to that next step? So important point there, seek out different perspectives. When you're looking at mentors, don't just go to the obvious, first choice that you might think of.
OK. Donc, il faut tout simplement chercher des personnes différentes pour obtenir des perspectives différentes aussi, pour qu'on puisse avoir une image plus globale de notre environnement et puis pour chercher de nouvelles opportunités aussi, parce que parfois, on ne sait pas ce qui est l'inconnu. Donc, il ne faut pas tout simplement chercher la première personne ou la personne qu'on pense qui est le best fit, comme on dit, mais il faut chercher des personnes différentes avec des chemins de carrière différents aussi pour avoir cette image qui est plus robuste, je dirais, plus globale. So what I'll do now is, I just saw that we received a question. Et cette question est en français. Donc, je vais poser la question en français, mais encore, n'hésitez pas à donner votre réponse dans la langue officielle de votre choix. La question est, où peut-on trouver un mentor? Est-ce qu'il y a une liste ou un site web? So where can you find a mentor? Is there a list or a website? So Justine, I see your head nodding. Maybe I'll turn it to you to start.
Sure. Body language is everything. Thanks, Alex. You're doing a great job at translating, by the way. I am working on my French, so I'm going to stick to English today, unfortunately, but hopefully by my next panel discussion, I'll be comfortable enough to speak in French. So apologies to those who posed the question in French. There's quite a few places, which is exciting. We're actually working, so the GC Mentorship Community of Practice has just launched formally last month. We have our next committee coming up this week, which we're super excited about. So it's a very new grassroots, ever-growing initiative, GC Mentorship Community of Practice. So what we're starting to do right now is tracking all the different mentorship programs that are going on in the GC. So a big job. There's tons going on, and it's pretty challenging to keep track, but that's going to be one of our priorities, is to come up with a list and continue evolving the list once we learn more of each new initiative that departments are doing or that networks are responsible for. So with that being said, some of the ones that we are responsible for is the GC Mentorship and Career Development Facebook group. This is one that we're super proud of and excited to share. We're at 3.7K members now. So please feel free, if you're not already part of it, I will make sure to copy the link in the chat once I'm done giving my little spiel. And I see Josh is already sharing some of our resources. So the GC Facebook page is one place to go. Really easy place to share resources, find a mentor if that's what you're looking for, or be a mentor. When you sign up to join the Facebook page, you have to answer 3 easy questions. Are you part of the government, or are you a retired public servant? Yes or no. Are you interested in being a mentor mentee? And do you agree to the terms and conditions? So really easy, but one way to identify with us, you need to identify if you're looking to be a mentor or a mentee. So I encourage you all to check out the Facebook page, a great opportunity to share resources. You'll see some resources on there. We posted of this VLS today on that page. So lots of public servants hopefully heard about it from there and other avenues. We'll post about speed mentoring events, lots of things like that. So anything going on in the GC related to mentoring, our aim is to have it posted on the Facebook page. Also a way to connect with mentors, mentees, obviously. So that's one way you can find a mentor. Another way is our living library. So this is also part of the responsibility of the GC Mentorship Community Practice that I mentioned was just launched formally recently. So another way is to check out our living library page. So it's actually what it sounds like, a living library of people's names that you can reach out to who have offered their time to be a mentor within the public service. So that list is also ever growing, just like our Facebook group will continue to grow and improve. The Living Library will continue to grow and improve. So we'll also post that in the chat. And then there's other informal ways to find a mentor as well through speed mentoring events. That's one thing that we love doing. It's usually part of the career boot camp. So some of you may have participated in that back in January. So it's been 2 years now or 3 years that we've done a large speed mentoring series of events as part of career boot camp, and we'll continue to do it moving forward. The next one coming up is going to be for students. So we're targeting it for around June, early June, to line up with National Public Service Week. And the theme for this series of events, of speed mentoring events, will be targeted for students. So another way to find a mentor. So these are just a couple quick ways for informal mentoring. I would say it's more informal rather than a formal mentoring program that would be set up by the department or through EEDI groups and so on and so forth. So hopefully that helped. Some quick ways to find a mentor.
All right, thank you for the response. And I've been quickly taking notes over here, so let me see if I can summarize all of this quite well. Donc, en fait, il y a quelques endroits où on pourrait chercher un mentor. Il y a une page web qui s'appelle la Communauté de pratique du gouvernement du Canada. Et là, on trouve un répertoire des programmes du mentorat qui existent déjà partout dans chacun de nos ministères, partout dans la fonction publique. Il y a aussi une page web sur Facebook et ma traduction directe ici, c'est le chemin ou le développement de carrière et du mentorat du gouvernement du Canada. Donc, il y a une page en anglais, GC Mentorship and Career Development, qui existe sur Facebook. Et par rapport de la partie du mentorat, il y a 3 questions où il faut fournir une réponse. La première, est-ce que vous faites partie de la fonction publique présentement ou est-ce que vous avez pris la retraite? Est-ce que vous êtes intéressé d'être un mentor ou un mentoré? Et est-ce que vous êtes d'accord avec les conditions générales du programme? Donc, en répondant à ces 3 questions, vous pouvez faire partie de ce programme de mentorat qui se trouve dans la page Facebook. Il y a aussi ce qu'on appelle un Living Library ou une bibliothèque vivante, je dirais. Et ça, c'est une page web aussi où on pourrait trouver des mentors qui sont déjà là, qui sont intéressés d'être des mentors et qui vont donner leur temps pour faire le mentorat avec n'importe quelle personne. Donc, ça, c'est un autre chemin aussi. Mais il y a finalement des chemins informels avec des événements de mentorat rapide. Et ce programme a été fait il y a 2-3 ans. Le prochain événement va se tirer juin prochaine pour les étudiants. Et ce serait pendant la Semaine nationale de la fonction publique. Donc, moi, je n'ai pas une date exacte, mais ça va se passer pendant cette semaine-là. Enfin, la journée, il y a plusieurs chemins informels pour chercher un mentor. Et si je rappelle bien, je pense que Josh a déjà partagé quelques liens ressources dans notre chat. Great. So, if anyone would like to add anything else, now is your time. Otherwise, I will start looking for another question. So Martin and Tona, I'll give you a few seconds just to reflect on it and let us know if there's anything else you'd like to add. Okay, so I will move on to another question that we have here. How important is it to have clear career ambitions and goals identified before meeting with your mentor? Donc, quel est le niveau d'importance sur l'établissement des ambitions, des objectifs de carrière et des buts identifiés avant d'avoir une réunion avec votre mentor? Let's start with Martin.
Sure. Je pense que c'est Justine qui l'avait mentionné. C'est que, tu sais, avoir une idée de ses ambitions, de ses objectifs, c'est certain que ça aide. Dans le processus, non seulement est-ce que ça va donner une meilleure idée ou une meilleure idée à la personne à qui tu vas parler, s'ils sont capables de t'aider, mais je pense que ça va aider également à orienter vos discussions. C'est un point qu'on oublie souvent de faire, vraiment d'avoir une idée claire pour soi-même de, tu sais, what am I hoping to achieve here? What do I want to do with kind of this mentorship relationship? So, tu sais, de rentrer dans la chose avec une idée claire de ses ambitions, de ses objectifs, ça aide, mais c'est pas pour dire que c'est nécessaire. Tu sais, j'ai eu plusieurs discussions avec des gens où c'était vraiment informel, c'était juste un chat. J'avais une question, puis je savais pas où aller. Puis je savais que c'était des gens qui avaient vécu cette expérience-là. Donc, même si j'avais pas une idée claire ou un objectif, je me suis quand même orienté vers eux autres, puis je leur ai posé la question. Puis on a eu des discussions, puis on a trouvé des solutions qui ont fini par aboutir, puis j'ai atteint mon objectif. Mais des fois, c'est aussi simple que ça. C'est des discussions informelles. Donc, ouais, pour en revenir à la question originale, c'est important, oui, mais pas toujours nécessaire. Des fois, c'est juste un one-off, puis tu as besoin d'en discuter avec quelqu'un. Puis ça, c'est correct, il n'y a rien de mal avec ça. Mais assure-toi également que la personne vers qui tu te diriges est disponible, est prêt, veut avoir cette discussion-là avec eux autres. Because it's important to remember, as much as you're asking for people there, like you're asking for people to share their time with you. And sometimes, they won't have the time, or it's a topic that they're not comfortable speaking on. And hopefully, if that's the case, they're able to kind of point you in another direction towards someone who can answer your questions. But don't necessarily expect that the first person you reach out to is going to have that answer for you if you don't have kind of that clear goal or objective. Have that discussion, and if they point you in another one, take it for what it is and explore that, because that's another avenue for you to kind of keep building that relationship with someone else. I'll leave it there for now. That was a lot, and it was a lot of English and French, but I'll leave it there for now.
All right, sounds good. So just to quickly summarize the French portion, what I took away from that is that it's definitely helpful, but it's not necessary. So if you do have your clear ambitions in place, it does help to let the mentor know if they can help, to see if they have the skills, but also it helps to steer the discussion, because at the end of the day, as a mentee, you're the one that's trying to get something out of this mentor-mentee relationship. So having those goals in place does definitely help. But if you don't have any goals in mind, that's also not a problem, because as soon as you start having these informal chats or discussions in any capacity, those become more clear as you continue on. So at the end of the day, it's not necessary, but it is good to have. Antona or Justine, if you wanted to add anything in, feel free to do so now.
Something that helps me before a mentoring session is if I have maybe two, three questions in mind, like this is what I want to get out of today's meeting with my mentor. That helps kind of direct the conversation and, like think about what my goals are out of this discussion.
All right, donc juste pour le résumer en français, là, il faut une meilleure pratique, c'est d'avoir 2 ou 3 questions en tête avant de rencontrer le mentor pour tout simplement diriger la discussion. So I think that really does speak to the fact that at the end of the day, you want to steer the discussion just to make sure that you're getting the most out of it. Donc, juste pour en profiter, c'est meilleur d'avoir quelques questions en tête. Let's go back to some of our other questions here. And actually, I do see that we have one question just building on the speed mentoring. So Justine, you did mention how there is speed mentoring that takes place once every so often. The question here is, what is speed mentoring? Like, how does it work? And how are we matched with other experienced mentors? So en français, c'est quoi cette idée d'avoir un mentorat rapide? Comment est-ce que ça marche? Et comment est-ce qu'on est jumelé avec des mentors expérimentés?
Great question. I'm happy you asked, because some people, I just assume that they know what it is, but that's not the case. So thanks for asking. Speed mentoring, best way to explain it is it's like speed dating. So people are matched up and have 15 minutes to ask a series of questions, and then they move on to another mentor. So physically, when it's been in person in the room, it's easy to visualize it this way. There's a series of tables. There's one mentor per table with about 6 mentees, typically lower level junior employees, but anyone can participate. So what I meant by that was they're typically a lower level than the mentor, right? So a mentor would be some type of leader, a manager, senior ADM, DM, and the mentors would be a more junior employee. So the mentor moves from table to table, have 15 minutes, ask a series of questions, career advice, how they got to where they are, tips and tricks for success, and then you move on to the next mentor. So it's been very fun in the past. There's a Mega Connects event for GCWCC, which you may have heard of, or if you haven't, keep an eye out for it. That happens around October, November for the campaign, the Government Canada Workplace Charitable Campaign. And then we've also done a large series of speed mentoring events as part of Career Bootcamp. It takes place after Career Bootcamp typically, so keep an eye out for that. But purpose is just to have a short, quick, effective time. It's an hour and a half typically, depending how much time you have, and it's an opportunity to ask questions to those people in that short amount of time. Although you're not on a long-term matching with them, you do have the opportunity to find a long-term mentor from these types of events, right? So a lot of times people exchange information and have coffee after the fact. So although it's not a long-term mentoring relationship that we're setting up, there is opportunity to find a mentor for a longer lasting relationship through these speed mentoring events. You can also do it within your department. So when I was at DFO, we did a smaller scale speed mentoring event within the department. We just booked a boardroom. This was, of course, when it was in person, but same as booking a MS Teams event like we have now, and organizing it either in person with different tables, inviting different executives to attend, and then opening it up to the employee group to attend. The same goes for online. You do the call out for mentors. That would be the first step. And then the mentees will fall into place because there's always tons of interest. So the only challenge we've had with online is the breakout rooms. It's a challenge for me. It's not a challenge for Marc-Andre and the others, but there's lots of coordination that goes into moving people from room to room. So just caution that. I'm rambling on too much, but I want to mention one more thing. We are building a toolkit for speed mentoring. We actually have it already available. So you'll see Josh posted the link. I can post it again, just so you know exactly where I'm referring to. But we've built a speed mentoring toolkit. So that's meant for anyone who wants to mimic what we've done in the past, whether it's with your department or whether it's with a network that involves a grouping of departments, whatever you like, it's there for you to use, and however it helps you. Also, feel free to reach out to me and I can direct your questions if I'm not able to address them, or if I'm able to address them, I'd be happy to. So shoot me an email if you have any questions on speed mentoring. I'd be happy to help you out.
Wonderful, thank you. So, si je comprends bien, le procès, c'est comme les mentorés sont jumelés avec un mentor pour une période d'une quinzaine de minutes pour demander des questions, pour parler un peu plus sur le chemin de carrière du mentor, pour juste prendre des conseils en général, pour avoir une discussion informelle. Et puis, à la fin de cette quinzaine de minutes, c'est complètement arrêté. Et puis, on refait la même chose à nouveau avec une nouvelle personne. Normalement, les mentors sont des gestionnaires ou des personnes au niveau de directeur général, etc., tandis que les mentorés qui sont là sont des employés juniors et même peut-être des étudiants. Il y a aussi des opportunités de chercher un mentor à long terme et on pourrait avoir ces discussions, pendant ces discussions rapides avec les mentors avec qui vous êtes jumelés. On pourrait avoir ces mêmes opportunités au sein de chaque ministère en faisant la même chose qu'on a créé ici avec ces événements de mentorat. Et en plus, il y a une boîte d'outils qui a été développée. Je pense que le lien a été partagé avec nous ici. Si vous aimeriez avoir ces mêmes types d'événements, si vous aimeriez planifier ces événements qui sont pareils, ou en général, si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à les poser au comité qui a développé ces événements de mentorat et à Justine aussi. So, do we have anything else that wants to be added into the speed mentoring? If not, I know we have a ton of questions here, so we'll try to get through as many as we can.
I'm just going to say they're a lot of fun, not only from an organization perspective, but as someone who's participated in quite a few of the sessions in the past. They're a lot of fun. So when those opportunities come up, please take them. They're probably, I'm not going to say they are, but they are probably one of the only opportunities to get one-on-one time with more senior levels. And especially for those of us who are new to government, it can be daunting kind of seeing, these names on whatever and thinking, oh, they're an ADM, I'm never going to talk to them, sort of deal. So it allows us to kind of break down that barrier and hear from them directly, as opposed to, this formal, chat. So they're a lot of fun, and they're great opportunities to get to know people at more senior levels, and hear about how they got to where they are. And in most cases, they started out just like you and I did. At junior levels, I know of ADMs and DMs even, who started as, admins in the government 25 years ago, and now look at where they are. So it's an opportunity for you to hear directly from them, kind of, how they got to where they are today in their career progression, and for them to share that knowledge with you. So if the opportunity presents itself, they're a lot of fun, take it.
There we go. So seems like some of our panelists here have already been a part of it. And I might actually see one of our comments here is, it looks like we have someone that has done the speed mentoring. They're saying that it's been very, very good. And they've had the experience of talking to mentors from StatsCan, from legal. There's some good questions that are given and how they got to their position and advice. It might not be a true match to the exact work you do, but you can learn from the experience and excellent networking opportunities. So very similar to what Martin has said there about how you can just absorb all of this information, learn how people have gotten to where they are. And I guess the most surprising thing is that once upon a time, they were no different than, where we are right now in our stages of life, or where we once were before. So that is definitely something to take up, the speed mentoring. I actually think I may have done it myself. I've been to so many of these things, like just for myself personally, getting into mentoring and just making the most of having these discussions with anyone, be it in the public service or elsewhere, has been very useful just for like thinking of ideas and figuring out how do you keep moving forward to where you want to be in your career yourself. So speed mentoring, definitely get on that. Here we are, we have another question here. A very simple one, but I think it's really important to answer. How long is the mentoring period? Donc, quelle est la durée pour avoir le mentorat? So I'll leave it open, and for any of our three panelists here, feel free to jump right in and take a first crack at it.
Well, sometimes it depends on if it's a structured mentorship program or if it's an informal mentorship program. I've been in some structured mentorship programs that spans from like 3 months to a year. So the ones outside of government where I've been a mentor to, that was a bi-weekly or sometimes bi-monthly, and that lasted for 6 months. And when I was in grad school, I had one for throughout the year. But more of the informal ones, it's usually, I touch base when I have to make a decision on something in terms of changing positions or joining a new team. So those are, like I have old, like previous managers or old colleagues that I consider as my mentors. So I reach out to them. That's not a very structured way, but it works as well. So it depends on how structured the mentorship program is, but it's pretty, it's a variety of either up like 3 months or 6 months or even a year, depending on the programme.
All right. Donc, il y a des programmes structurés qui pourraient exister et les durées pourraient se passer de 3 mois à 1 an. Ça vraiment dépend sur le programme et même la fréquence où on a des réunions avec le mentor pourrait passer, par exemple, 1 fois chaque 2 semaines ou 1 fois chaque 2 mois. Enfin, la journée, ça dépend. Mais en ce qui concerne les réunions informelles, c'est vraiment à vous de décider la fréquence des réunions et à quel moment vous devriez contacter vos mentors, que ce soit les gestionnaires, les superviseurs, quel que soit. C'est vraiment à vous et ça vraiment dépend sur le temps où vous avez des questions ou vous aurez besoin de faire des décisions. So 2 types there, structured programs as well as the informal ones. Justine or Martin, was there anything else you'd like to add to that?
No, I don't think so. I think Antona covered it very well. It really depends on the program, like she said. So it could be a couple of weeks, it could be a couple of months. It depends on the program that's been set up or the commitment that you've made with that person.
All right. So I think, Antona, just building on your response from before, another question that we have here is, should I apply to be part of a formal mentorship program? So if you don't mind sharing your thoughts on that, that would be great. Donc, en français, là, est-ce qu'il est nécessaire de postuler à un programme formel du mentorat?
Yeah, so I'll take this time to discuss the mentorship program we have at my department in our camp. So this year we actually piloted a mentorship program, and this was an initiative that was co-developed by the Visible Minority Advisory Council, the Policy Analyst Recruitment and Development Program, as well as the Youth Professional Network representatives. So we all came together and we saw there was a gap in a mentorship program in the department. So we worked with those teams to create this mentorship program. And the aim was to connect senior level employees to early career professionals with the intent of eventually scaling up to a larger program. So this one was a structured one, and the pilot program was 3 months. But at the end of this, it was a really successful program. We had our originally we wanted 15 pairings, but we actually ended up having 40 pairings with senior EX levels to junior employees. And for this program, we prioritize on connecting visible minorities as well to improve their resources available to them, and to equity-seeking groups to advance our departmental EDI initiatives. Because in all of those three groups that we have, the Visible Minority Advisory Council and our development program, not everyone got a chance to find mentors without a structural program like this. So we wanted people from racialized communities to have the same access that other groups had to mentors as well. So this was a departmental initiative, and I think TBS, Treasury Board, also have a formal mentorship program as well. So you don't always have to have a structural program to be a mentor or a mentee, but it does help certain groups gain that access to mentors. So yeah, I would recommend seeking your department to see, finding out if there is an existing initiative like this, or if you're interested even in starting one, because this didn't exist last year, and we had 3 groups that came together and be like, oh, this is something that's missing in the department that people lost and would benefit from. So I would either reach out to your Visible Minority Council or your youth network representative to see if there's a structural program like this. But yeah, I find it really helpful to have a structural program, but if you don't have that in your department, then an informal one works as well. I've been part of both, and they're both as useful.
Great, thanks for sharing that with us. So, just to summarize that in French, grosso modo, la réponse est parfois oui, parfois ça vraiment dépend s'il y a vraiment un avantage en se joignant dans un programme qui est plus structuré ou plus formel, mais dans le ministère des Ressources naturelles du Canada, il y avait 3 comités qui ont été mis ensemble pour créer un programme de mentorat. Donc, il y avait le comité des minorités visibles, le réseau de la jeunesse et même le programme de développement de carrière. Et ils ont lancé un programme pilote qui a duré 3 mois avec ce programme de mentorat, et c'était bien réussi, étant donné que le cible, c'est d'avoir 15 jumelages des employés qui sont dans la gestion, dans la haute gestion, avec les employés qui sont plus juniors. Mais en réalité, il y avait 40 jumelages qui ont été faits, et c'était très bien. La réception était très bien faite. Donc, il y avait une priorité aussi aux minorités visibles afin qu'ils puissent agrandir leur réseau au sein de la fonction publique. Et le but aussi, c'était d'avoir ces communautés racialisées, d'avoir plus d'opportunités au sein de la fonction publique, étant donné qu'il y a certaines cibles qui ont été mises en place pour agrandir le nombre des employés dans cette catégorie au sein de notre fonction publique. On pourrait voir qu'il y a aussi un programme de mentorat qui est pareil. Je pense que ça, c'est disponible dans le secrétariat du Conseil de Trésor ou TBS. Et en fin de la journée, si vous n'êtes pas dans le même ministère que Ressources naturelles Canada ou le secrétariat du Conseil de Trésor, il faut tout simplement chercher ces opportunités. Peut-être cela existe déjà au sein de vos ministères, mais si ce n'est pas le cas, on pourrait bien le créer en contactant des réseaux différents tels que les comités de minorités visibles au sein de vos ministères et même les réseaux de la jeunesse. I will just say as well that being a part of Environment and Climate Change Canada, we do have similar mentoring opportunities structured in a similar way. And these are also offered through our own youth network. So for those of you who may be joining us from Environment Canada, feel free to contact our youth networks there as well, because we do have these opportunities. And I do believe it would be quite similar for other networks as well. So thank you for sharing that with us, Antona, and especially with how we're trying to bring in more of the visible minorities and making sure that they also have similar or equal opportunities to the other groups that we have in the federal public service. Justine or Martin, was there anything else you wanted to add in about applying to a formal mentorship program, or anything more about mentorship programs that may exist within your departments?
I'll jump in because I saw another question was in regards to the list that I alluded to, which is not in existence yet, but it is our plan to make a list. So I'm committing on behalf of the GC Mentorship Community of Practice in creating that list. So myself and Emily Smith or Jen McDougall are the contacts to reach for the mentorship community of practice. So please feel free to reach out to me individually to let me know what mentorship programs are going on in your department or in your network. And we'll start making a list. We're aware of a few of them now, some of the ones that we're overseeing. So it'll be wonderful to get a list going, and it'll be ever growing. Of course, there's always new initiatives coming up. But please feel free to send me those if you have something ongoing. A lot of time there's something going on in the department, you may not know about it. Some people aren't always tuned in on what's going on, especially in the virtual world. We don't always run into people in the elevator and have a chance to talk about things that are going on, right? So it's important to stay connected and do your own research as much as possible. So when you're joining a new department, joining a new team, just ask those questions. Hey, do you know anything that might be offered to me in terms of learning opportunities or mentoring opportunities? And hopefully someone will be able to help you out. Particularly, it would be the YPN network, so young professionals networks within your department, or HR. HR could also be a huge support. Oftentimes, YPN and HR work together, or at least communicate with each other when they're organizing and running mentoring programs. So reach out to your YPN or HR to find out.
All right, thanks for that. So, juste en bref, deux endroits où on pourrait contacter des personnes pour chercher des opportunités de mentorat, c'est encore des réseaux de la jeunesse, mais il y a aussi des ressources humaines. Mais en général, il faut tout simplement pas oublier de demander des questions, de poser des questions n'importe où dans votre carrière. Donc, lorsque vous rencontrez des gens, soit dans les réunions, dans les autres parties de votre travail, plus que vous demandez des questions, que ce soit avec le mentorat ou d'autres choses, plus que vous chercheriez ces opportunités. I see we only have about 2 minutes or so until we have to wrap up our event here with our surprise announcement that might not be too surprising. But what I'll do is for each of our panelists here, if you want to give just a final 20 or 30 seconds, maybe something in summary about mentoring, and if there was one takeaway message for our participants here, what would that be? It's a lot to ask right now, but I will turn the floor to, let's start with Antona.
Yeah, as someone who's a bit early on in the career too, I really benefited from my mentors, and you'll never know what opportunities you'll get from the mentors you have, right? When you're talking about speed networking, I was thinking I actually got like an offer at NORCAN through a speed networking event that was organized by my school. So mentorship is good to get advice from those people with a lot of experience, but also it may lead to a really great opportunity too. And it's also important to stay connected to your mentors even after the period is done, even to, like send them a happy holidays email. Like it's just good to keep that connection going. And it doesn't always have to be like, oh, like, can you answer this question? It could also be like, hey, I hope you're doing well. So just maintain that connection.
All right, thank you. Justine, I'll turn it to you.
Thanks, Alex. Great advice, Antona. I would just like to reiterate, as my 30-second spiel, the GC Mentorship Community of Practice that we've just launched formally. So we're looking for people to help support. Of course, we want to share what we're doing, but what we're really looking for is people to contribute and to support. We want to make this community of practice where we share resources, help each other out, help organize large speed mentoring events, and some of the other things I've mentioned, like supporting the Facebook page. So if anyone is interested in getting more involved in mentoring, we'd love for you to join our community of practice. We currently meet monthly, but as things evolve, we'll start having more regular meetings or side meetings for a specific initiative like speed mentoring, so on. So please feel free to reach out to me individually if you're interested in getting more involved in the mentorship community of practice. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Justine. And to you, Martin.
Thanks. I think the only thing that I'm going to end on this, and I'm going to say opportunities abound to get involved, both as a mentee and as a mentor. So don't be afraid to, put in that work to find those opportunities. Finn does a very good job, as do, many of the departmental young professionals networks. So they're there, but as Justine and Antona were mentioning earlier, sometimes HR has those programs as well. I know when I was at PSPC, it was through our career services group. So the opportunities are there, both formal and informal. I know it can be daunting to kind of, take that first step and put yourself out there. But it's an important first step, especially if, you have these goals, these ambitions. So, definitely put the time in to find those opportunities and figure out what you want to get from them, seek them out, and then start, those discussions to establish those relationships with people. Because at the end of the day, once you eventually get there, you as a person, but your career will be all the better for it. So, just go out and find those opportunities. They're everywhere. You just have to kind of put your hand up, pick one, and run with it.
All right. Thank you for ending us off on that, Martin. And thanks again to you, Antona, and Justine for being our panelists during this past hour. I'm sure that we've had a lot of great discussion, that's for sure. I feel that. So I feel our participants here, while we can't see them and we can't really hear them, I'm pretty sure they've benefited a lot from what you've had to say. And from all the questions that we received as well, it definitely seems like that. I see there's a lot of activity going on here in the chat and a lot of links have been shared. So I do hope that everyone makes the most of it. And of course, if there are any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us following this session as well. But to our participants, don't just leave just yet, because we do have an announcement. Donc, juste avant de terminer la session, j'aimerais présenter Joshua Frame, qui est le président national du réseau des jeunes fonctionnaires fédéraux, pour une annonce très spéciale.
Awesome. Thanks, Alex. Yes, so you can continue your learning in terms of learning about mentoring, learning how you can be mentored with a newly launched product from Finn called Finn Unscripted. So this is a podcast that was recently launched, and in French it's LGFF sans filtre. So you can join us as we explore some of the realities, challenges, and motivations of public servants working within the government of Canada. So we want to bring the human aspect of the subject that we so often talk about at the FYM. And all of our episodes are available in both English and in French. And you can even listen to both and get more info as we have different guests for the English and French episodes. So the first episode is out and is on mentorship, as you see on your screen. And definitely a great complement to today's session. So our guests are Vince Brangevin and Christian Sabourin, with host Emily Smith for the English episode, and Annie Thériault and Pascal Lafrenière with host Marc-André Leblanc in French. So to make sure you don't miss an episode, you can subscribe to Finn Unscripted on Spotify, Google Podcast, or Amazon Music, and we'll be on Apple Podcast shortly. Thanks very much, and back to you, Alex.
All right, thank you, Josh. And thanks once again to everyone for attending our session this afternoon. Just before signing off, be sure to sign up for our future events that will be happening. One will be on April 26th called EEDIAR VLS, Race, Racism, and Behavioral Insights. And there's another one coming up on May 3rd, Psychological Safety, Our Commitment to Each Other. Juste en français alors, merci d'avoir encore nos participants, d'avoir participé à cet événement aujourd'hui. N'oubliez pas de vous inscrire aux prochains événements qui auront lieu le 26 avril, le EEDIAR SAV, le race, le racisme et les aperçus comportementaux. Et le prochain événement aussi, le 3 mai, sur la sécurité psychologique, notre engagement mutuel. I believe we have a whole bunch of mentorship resources that have been posted in our chat, so be sure to check those out. And of course, I think a link would also be put in the chat as well for registering to future events if that has already not been done. I think that's in the chat, but if not, I think they'll be coming up soon. Donc, encore, les liens pour vous inscrire à ces événements et pour toutes les ressources qu'on vient de partager avec vous aujourd'hui se trouvent dans le chat. N'hésitez pas à les consulter et si vous avez des questions, n'hésitez pas à demander vos questions à nous. Have a great rest of day, everyone. Take care. Bonne journée tout le monde.